Imagine this. You're embarking on a journey to build something truly monumental. We're talking, a gleaming, complex skyscraper that redefines a city skyline, maybe a state-of-the-art hospital designed for cutting-edge medical care, or even a huge infrastructure project, like a new bridge or transit system, something big.
Yeah, transformational projects.
Exactly. Now, you, the owner, you have this incredible vision, right? This really clear purpose for what you want to achieve. But let's be honest, you're probably not an expert in steel beam fabrication or the chemistry of concrete mixes or, heaven forbid, the labyrinthine legal contracts that hold these massive undertakings together.
Right. It's a whole different world.
So amidst all this colossal complexity, who truly stands by your side? Who is fiercely representing your best interests when you're navigating this dizzying array of architects, engineers, contractors, specialists, all with their own focus, their own agendas?
That's the classic dilemma, isn't it? You see it throughout history. Grand ambition meets these formidable practicalities. Think about, like, ancient ziggurats, the immense coordination needed to stack those massive mud brick platforms.
Whoa.
Or the grand Roman vaulted forms, groundbreaking engineering just to create those soaring, uninterrupted spaces. Even the Louvre, which was, as one source puts it, shaping up for quite a long time, evolving over generations, that demanded a colossal coordinated effort.
Generations. I can't even imagine.
And through it all, the individual owner, the patron, they often bore a really heavy personal toll. You see this with figures like Isambard Kingdom Brunel. His declining health was directly linked, reportedly, to the constant anxiety and nervous tension over his huge projects like the Great Eastern Ship. The pressure, the knowledge gap between that vision and the actual execution. It can be just, crushing.
That gut-wrenching feeling Brunel must have had.
Wow.
It really underscores the immense pressure, personal and financial, on an owner. And that truly is the heart of our deep dive today. We're stepping into the indispensable, often kind of unsung role of the owner's representative, sometimes called a project management consultant, in this vast, complex construction industry. Now, this isn't just about adding another manager to the list.
No.
It's about securing a fiercely dedicated, knowledgeable advocate whose sole focus is your success. So my question for you is, what's the single biggest misconception owners have about this role? And why is understanding it so crucial for anyone embarking on a significant build?
That's a great question. I think the biggest misconception is that an owner's representative is just another layer of management, or that they somehow duplicate what the architect or the contractor is already doing.
Right, like, why do I need another person?
Exactly. But the truth is, their role is incredibly distinct and absolutely critical. They are essentially your personal chief of staff on the project. They serve as an extension of your own team, but crucially, they're armed with deep industry expertise. Their mission, and this is what we're going to unpack today, is to safeguard your vision and your investment. From those earliest conceptual sketches all the way through to the final handshake when the project's done.
From start to finish.
Right. We'll explore their core functions, clarify their unique independent position, why they're not the architect or the builder, and share some compelling real-world scenarios that illustrate why. For any significant project, they are not just beneficial, but really a crucial best practice. Ultimately, they're there to ensure your vision is realized on time, on budget, and exactly as you envisioned it.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start by digging deeper into that initial premise. Why is construction, especially for these major projects, inherently so incredibly complex? It's way more than just laying bricks, isn't it?
Oh, far, far more. Construction projects, particularly the big ones, are consistently described in the sources we looked at as complex and costly. And there are a few key reasons why. First, there's just the sheer scale and the financial outlay involved.
The numbers must be astronomical.
They really are. Think back to those historical examples, the Roman vaults, the generations it took to shape the Louvre. These weren't just buildings, they were huge economic undertakings, massive investments, sometimes spanning generations. Even something like Brunel's Great Eastern Ship, which was totally unprecedented. It involved an unimaginable number of interdependent tasks, pushing the boundaries of technology and finance at the time. We're talking projects that can easily run into the billions of dollars today with hundreds of thousands of individual components.
Billions! With hundreds of thousands of pieces. Just managing that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
And the number of people involved must be staggering, too.
Absolutely. That's the second point, the sheer multitude of specialists. A project like this isn't built by one general contractor and a few workers. It involves this sprawling ecosystem of professionals.
Like who?
Well, you've got designers, structural engineers, mechanical, electrical, civil engineers, landscape architects, then the general contractor, who manages dozens, maybe hundreds, of subcontractors covering everything from plumbing and HVAC to curtain walls and interior finishes, plus fabricators, suppliers, various highly specialized trades.
Okay, wow.
Each one has a very specific scope of work, often detailed in documents like the project scope statement. And now, with tools like BIM building information modeling, they even have specialized drawing production requirements, coordinating all these distinct groups, each with their own expertise, priorities, sometimes even conflicting interests.
Yeah.
It's a monumental task in itself.
And that coordination, or maybe the lack of coordination, can lead to serious problems, right? It sounds like there's this inherent challenge with just information overload, and maybe, like one expert said, these blinkered perspectives.
Precisely. The construction process generates a formidable amount of information every single day. Design documents, material specs, daily progress reports, safety logs, change orders, hundreds of them sometimes. Without an overarching, unbiased perspective looking at the whole picture,
Yeah.
it's incredibly easy for stakeholders to get captured by old, devastating common practices, basically, sticking to inefficient ways of doing things just because that's how it's always been done. Or they view things only from their bounded rationality.
Bounded rationality, what's that mean exactly?
It's a key concept. It means people make decisions based on the limited information and cognitive abilities they personally possess, rather than a truly comprehensive, holistic understanding of the entire project.
Okay, so they only see their little piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. An expert once described how specialists can get so caught up in the tiny details, like the precise engineering of an iron key in an old pump, that they totally lose sight of the project's overall purpose. How does their piece fit into the grand puzzle? Everyone sees their part, but maybe no one sees the whole picture, or critically, how their part impacts everyone else down the line.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Costly errors, miscommunications.
Definitely. Significant inefficiencies, major delays, and sometimes even dangerous situations if critical information falls through the cracks.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So if the project is that complex, involving all these specialists with their bounded rationality, where does the client, the owner, fit into this intricate web? They're usually not construction experts themselves, are they?
No, most clients are, quite simply, not construction experts. They have a very clear project vision, right? A powerful purpose for what they want to build: a new headquarters, a hospital wing, whatever it is. But understanding the, quote, formidable things that occupy engineers and builders day in and day out, that's often far beyond their daily experience.
They know the what, but not the how.
Exactly. They know what outcome they want, but often not how it's actually built, or, more critically, how to effectively manage the incredibly intricate process of building it, from that first idea all the way to completion. This creates a huge knowledge and experience gap between the owner's desire and the technical managerial execution needed to get there.
And that gap, combined with the massive investment we talked about, that must translate into pretty high stakes and considerable risk for the owner, personally and financially.
Well, absolutely. For the owner, these projects are monumental investments. Often a huge chunk of their capital, maybe even their entire financial future, is tied up in it. They carry significant uncertainty and a high risk of unfavorable consequences.
Consequences low.
Well, without expert guidance, without that dedicated advocate, disputes and unforeseen issues can escalate incredibly quickly. Suddenly, lawyers and expert witnesses can become a much larger and very unwelcome part of an owner's life and fears.
Stressful.
Hugely. And it's not just financial risk. It's the emotional and mental strain. Remember Brunel. His declining health linked to that constant anxiety and nervous tension over his projects. He faced immense pressure. His story really highlights the intense, often solitary burden on an owner and the profound need for robust, expert support. Without it, the personal toll can be absolutely staggering.
That personal toll is something we rarely think about when we just see a finished building. But ultimately, it all comes back to that initial vision. If there's such a gap between the client's vision and the execution, how does that actually play out, and why is it so problematic?
Well, the project vision itself, as our sources describe it, should summarize the project's purpose clearly and succinctly. It should paint a realistic, attractive view of the future project outcomes. It's your North Star, right?
Yeah.
But the journey from that initial, sometimes abstract vision to a tangible, functional building a machine for living in, as one architect famously put it, or any functional structure, That journey can be absolutely fraught with missteps if the owner doesn't have an expert constantly translating that vision into actionable plans and rigorously ensuring compliance throughout every single phase.
So without that translator, things get lost.
Easily. As one expert starkly put it, if the goal is defined badly, then the system can't possibly produce a desirable result. Without that clear translation, without that consistent oversight, making sure the hundreds of daily decisions align with the original intent, the owner's dream can easily become an expensive disappointment. Or worse, a white elephant that just fails to meet its fundamental purpose. It's all about ensuring the dream becomes a well-built, functional reality.
Okay, so we've really established the why, the immense complexity, the huge risks that critical knowledge gap owners face. Now let's talk about the who. Who is this owner's representative, and how exactly do they fit into this incredibly intricate puzzle?
Right. So at its core, the owner's representative is explicitly defined in our sources as the client's trusted advisor and advocate. They bring their specialized expertise to bear, from the earliest stages of planning through final closeout.
So not just coming in when there's a fire to put out?
No, absolutely not. They're with you from the very inception of the idea, acting as an extension of the owner's team.
Hmm.
And crucially, they serve as your single point of accountability and communication. Think about all those specialists we mentioned. The owner's rep streamlines what could otherwise be a fragmented and completely overwhelming flow of information.
Okay, 1 point person.
Exactly. They are there to ensure your interests are paramount, always. They bridge that knowledge gap we discussed and provide a consistent expert voice for your vision throughout the entire project lifecycle. Think of them really as your chief of staff specifically for this project.
So it's clearly not just about having technical skills then. It sounds like it's about a much deeper understanding of the owner's strategic objectives, their priorities.
Absolutely. Their role isn't merely technical oversight, although they certainly possess that in abundance. It's fundamentally about understanding not just what, but why it matters to you, the owner.
Why it matters. Okay.
They connect the dots between all the myriad project activities, the design choices, the construction methods, the budget decisions, and your overarching business or personal goals. They bring an objective, holistic view to a project that, if left unchecked, can easily fragment into all these specialized and sometimes competing interests. They ensure every decision, every change, every dollar spent aligns with the strategic purpose and the desired long-term outcomes of your significant investment. That holistic perspective is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable in a world full of specialists.
That's a really crucial distinction. Now, in the construction world, there are so many different players. You mentioned architects, contractors, construction managers. How is an owner's representative distinct from these other key players? And why is that distinction so vital for the owner?
This is a really important point because their unique position is exactly what underpins their objectivity and their effectiveness for the owner. Let's break down those distinctions.
Okay.
First, think about the architect or the designer. Their primary focus is, naturally, on the design itself. Things like the plan of the house, the facade design, the aesthetic architectural decoration. They're creating the vision in drawings and specs.
Right, the creative part.
Yes. But the owner's representative oversees the entire project delivery process. They aren't creating the design. Rather, they ensure the design not only meets aesthetic and functional requirements, but critically also aligns with the owner's criteria, meets those refining quality standards we talked about, and importantly, stays within budget.
So they're kind of checking the design against the owner's practical needs.
Precisely. They even facilitate constructability reviews of the designer's work. They're asking, is this design not just beautiful, but is it buildable? Is it cost-effective? Does it align with the owner's long-term operational goals? They make sure the design serves your practical needs and overall goals, not solely the artistic vision, though that's important too.
Okay, distinct from the designer. What about the builder, the construction manager, or general contractor?
Right. The construction manager, CM, or the general contractor, is contractually responsible for executing the construction work. Their job is to manage their own teams, their subcontractors, their suppliers, and physically build the project according to the plans and specifications. Their primary contractual obligation is to build it.
Get it done.
Get it done. The owner's representative, however, maintains complete independence and objectivity. The key phrase from one source is they must not assume the roles or responsibilities contracted to others. They are your independent monitor and advocate.
So they're watching the contractor for the owner.
Exactly. They monitor the contractor's compliance with quality, schedule, and safety. They verify that the contractor is meeting their obligations to the owner rather than directly performing those functions themselves. For example, while a CM might monitor the contractor's safety enforcement on site, the guidance explicitly states the CM is not intended to relieve the contractors of their responsibilities for safety. Your owner's rep ensures the contractor holds up their end of the bargain in every aspect.
So if they're not the designer and they're not the builder, they really do occupy this unique position. It's almost like they're the owner's eyes and ears on the ground, but armed with deep industry knowledge and this unwavering commitment only to the owner's best interests.
Exactly. They are your shield. Their role ensures, as one source puts it, that the appropriate party fulfills its scheduling responsibilities and reduces the risk to the CM and the owner associated with usurping the planning and scheduling obligations of the contractors.
Meaning they keep everyone in their lane.
Yes. They prevent situations where a CM or contractor might overstep their bounds, or where an owner, lacking expertise, might inadvertently take on responsibilities that contractually belong elsewhere. Their focus is solely on your interests, the owner's interests, without the inherent conflicts of interest that a designer, who wants to realize their design vision, sometimes regardless of cost, or a builder, who has their own profit margins and resource allocations to worry about, might naturally have. The owner's rep's loyalty is singular to your vision and your investment, making sure everyone else delivers on their commitments to you.
All right, so they're the trusted advisor, the advocate, distinctly separate from designers and builders with this singular loyalty to the owner. Now let's really get into the nitty-gritty. What do they actually do day to day? How do they guide a project through every single stage, transforming that complex vision into a tangible reality?
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this phase by phase, starting right at the beginning, early planning and design. This is absolutely critical, because this is where the foundation for success is laid. A strong owner's rep here can prevent missteps that would be incredibly costly, maybe even impossible to fix later on.
I imagine it all starts with just clarifying what you're actually building, getting everyone truly on the same page from day one.
Absolutely. One of their primary functions right out of the gate is establishing and maintaining the project vision. Your owner's rep helps you articulate that project vision, ensuring that, quote, understanding that purpose is critical for people to commit their time and energy in the right direction.
So it's more than just a nice sentence.
Oh yeah, this isn't just a vague aspiration. It involves identifying critical code requirements right from the start. What are the non-negotiables? And refining quality standards. What does good enough truly mean for your specific project? Because quality isn't always the absolute highest possible. It's the right quality for the intended purpose and budget. If you don't get this foundational clarity right, everything that follows can go astray. You end up with costly redesigns or a final product that just doesn't meet your fundamental needs. They translate your dream into measurable, achievable goals.
Okay, so once that vision is crystal clear, then it's about getting the right people on board to actually make it happen. The team.
Precisely. This leads directly to team selection and contract development. Your owner's rep is instrumental, absolutely instrumental, in helping you select the architect and contractor. And this is far more than just picking a familiar name or the lowest bidder.
There's more to it than just price.
Much more. They guide the whole team selection process. They help you navigate different methodologies, like, say, low bid selection, where the goal is typically an apples versus apples competition based on already complete plans. They help you understand the pros and cons of various contract types, lump sum, cost plus, guaranteed maximum price, and different selection methods, like qualifications-based selection. They ensure you choose partners who not only fit your budget, but also, critically, fit your project's unique complexities, and even the kind of collaborative culture you want.
In the contracts themselves, those must be tricky.
Very. They play a crucial role in shaping the overall design program into executable contract packages and assisting in robust construction contract development. This might involve using industry-standard contracts like AIA or consensus docs, or developing customized ones tailored precisely to your project's specific risks and needs. Their expertise here in crafting clear scopes and fair terms can prevent significant legal and financial headaches down the road by anticipating potential points of conflict and building in safeguards for you, the owner.
It sounds like they really help formalize everything right from the start, leaving as little room for ambiguity as possible.
That's exactly right. They work closely with you to clearly define the project scope and objectives. This usually involves developing a comprehensive project scope statement, which details the major deliverables, key milestones, and just as importantly, the exclusions, what is not included in the project.
The exclusions are key.
They really are. This detailed document acts as a crucial safeguard, preventing later misunderstandings, arguments over he said, she said, about what was or wasn't included, and that dreaded scope creep where the project requirements just keep expanding unexpectedly, blowing the budget and schedule. This clarity is vital to avoid those situations where, as we mentioned, the goal is defined badly, which, as the source warned, can't possibly produce a desirable result. They ensure there's clear consensus on exactly what the project entails and, just as importantly, what it doesn't.
Okay, so you've got the vision, the right team, a clear scope. But then there are all those external factors, right? Like permits, regulations, things that can really trip up a project if you're not careful.
Indeed. And that's another area where they excel, navigating the regulatory landscape. A good owner's rep proactively identifies and addresses regulatory requirements. This includes potentially complex local, state, and even federal mandates related to things like environmental issues, wetlands protection, local permitting, zoning laws, historical preservation rules, you name it.
Stuff the owner might not even know exists.
Exactly. These seemingly bureaucratic hurdles can impede the successful delivery of the program if not addressed early in the process. Imagine investing millions designing a project, only to find out you can't get a crucial permit because of an overlooked environmental regulation or a zoning conflict. Your rep navigates these complex landscapes proactively, engaging with authorities early, securing necessary approvals, and mitigating potential delays long before they become expensive, project-stopping roadblocks.
Okay, so by this point, you've got the vision crystal clear, the right team assembled, a rock-solid scope, and you've navigated the regulatory maze. What about the really big picture items, the money and the time? These are usually the first things owners worry about, right?
Absolutely. And the owner's rep tackles these head-on early with conceptual budget and schedule development. In these initial phases, when detailed designs are still evolving, maybe just sketches, your representative uses conceptual estimates. These are essentially preliminary cost projections based on minimal design data.
Educated guesses.
Highly educated guesses, yes. Based on their experience, historical data from similar projects, and square footage costs, for example. They're invaluable in the schematic or budgetary phase when detailed information just isn't available yet. They also help with developing the initial project schedule. This might involve using techniques like rolling wave planning, which is a flexible approach where the near-term work is detailed thoroughly, while future work is planned at a higher, more strategic level. This initial roadmap gives you, the owner, a realistic understanding of the potential investment required and the likely timeline, preventing sticker shock later and allowing for informed go-no-go decisions.
Okay, that covers the crucial early stages, setting the stage for success. Now, once everything is planned, contracts are signed, maybe ground is even broken, how do they ensure the project actually stays on track during the execution phase? This feels like where things can really go sideways if you're not careful.
You're right, this is where their ongoing vigilance becomes absolutely critical. Let's look at budget and cost management first. It's paramount. The owner's rep helps establish and then meticulously manages the cost baseline. This is the approved, time-phased version of your project budget, how much money is allocated to be spent and when.
The official plan for the money.
Exactly. And crucially, this baseline, once set, can be changed only through formal change control procedures, meaning no one can just arbitrarily decide to spend more money on something without a formal process, justification, and your explicit approval, usually facilitated by the rep. They then take responsibility for tracking, projecting, and monitoring costs through the construction phase, aiming relentlessly to stay within the budget. Just as importantly, they're looking to detect excessive project costs early, while there's still time to investigate why something is costing more than planned and take corrective action. This continuous, almost forensic oversight helps prevent costly surprises down the road and ensures every dollar is accounted for and justified.
And I assume they're also keeping a close eye on the owner's actual cash flow needs, because needing money at the wrong time can cripple a project or a business.
Absolutely vital. They forecast cash flows, not just based on the initial plan, but continually throughout the project based on actual progress and anticipated expenses. They keep you, the owner, informed of cash needs for the development of the program financial plan. This allows you to manage your finances effectively, arrange funding if necessary, and avoid liquidity problems that could halt work.
And what about when the bills come in? Paying the contractor?
They manage that process rigorously, too. When it comes to processing contractors' payments, they implement strict procedures in conformance with contract requirements. They scrutinize every invoice, every pay application, particularly looking closely at reimbursable items and things like home office overhead charges to ensure you're only paying for what's contractually agreed upon, properly documented, and actually reflects work completed.
So no padding the bills.
They work hard to prevent that. And a critical protection they usually insist on is that subcontractors submit lien waivers with each request for payment. This is huge.
Explain lien waivers again. Why are they so important?
Sure. A lien waiver is essentially a receipt signed by a subcontractor or supplier stating they've been paid a certain amount for their work or materials on your project, and in return, they waive their right to file a mechanics lien against your property for that amount. This protects you, the owner, from the risk of having to pay twice if the general contractor fails to pass along the payment to their subs. It ensures clear title to your property and is a fundamental financial safeguard. Your rep makes sure this process is followed diligently.
Okay, so money is tightly managed, both tracking costs and handling payments. What about time? Schedules are notoriously difficult to keep in construction. Delays seem almost inevitable, and they often add significant costs.
Time management is equally crucial. And yes, notoriously challenging. The owner's rep establishes procedures for planning and monitoring compliance with the project timeline, which is intrinsically linked to those master and detailed construction schedules developed earlier. Similar to the cost baseline, there's a schedule baseline. The approved version of the schedule level, also subject to formal change control.
So the schedule is locked down too, unless formally changed.
Correct. They then actively monitor activities on the master schedule, often daily or weekly. They prepare detailed schedule reports showing actual progress versus planned progress. They're constantly identifying trouble spots or activities on the critical path, the sequence of tasks that determines the project's total duration that are falling behind. And they don't just report problems, they actively look for opportunities to recover schedule slippages through resequencing non-critical work, finding efficiencies, or working with the contractor on recovery plans.
And when delays do inevitably happen, maybe due to bad weather or unforeseen site conditions or even design changes, how do they help manage those without letting them snowball into huge problems?
They are absolutely instrumental in managing time extensions. Contractors often request these due to circumstances beyond the contractor's control, like legitimate design errors or changes issued by the architect, or true acts of God like hurricanes or extreme weather events. Your representative meticulously evaluates these requests. Is the reason valid? Is the amount of time requested justified? They negotiate fair schedule adjustments based on the contract terms, preventing the contractor from claiming undue extensions that might not be warranted.
And they understand technical scheduling concepts.
Yes. Crucially, they understand concepts like float. In project scheduling, float, or slack, is the amount of time a particular task can be delayed without affecting the project's overall completion date or delaying the start of subsequent critical tasks. Knowing where this flexibility exists for non-critical activities allows your representative to manage unexpected minor delays strategically. They can often absorb these small hiccups without derailing the entire timeline or triggering unnecessary cost increases. Their job is to minimize the impact of any delay on your budget and your final completion date.
Okay, so money and time are rigorously covered. What about the actual build quality? How do they ensure the final product isn't just finished, but is truly what the owner envisioned? That it's built well, not just, what the contractor found easiest or cheapest to install that day.
This falls squarely under quality management, and it's a constant focus. The owner's representative actively monitors contractor compliance with the quality level expected for the project. And this isn't just a subjective, does it look okay? It involves ensuring adherence to very specific, often complex, technical specifications. Think back to Brunel's ship engines needing a specific horsepower output, not less than 4,000 IHP. That was a hard, measurable quality standard.
So they're checking against the specs.
Constantly, they develop procedures for monitoring the quality of work, making sure proper protocols for installation and finishing are followed. They coordinate and often witness crucial field testing, things like concrete strength tests, soil compaction tests, air pressure tests for building envelopes, material inspections upon delivery to verify that materials and workmanship meet the defined standards in the contract documents.
And this ties into bigger goals, too.
Yes. They often connect quality to broader project objectives like achieving specific green goals, like A-LEED certification, or implementing lean processes, which focus on eliminating waste and maximizing value of construction. This attention to detail extends to specific material standards, verifying the specified crushing strength for concrete or bricks, ensuring the correct type and installation of things like cavity insulations without vapor retarders to prevent moisture problems later, or making sure wood is properly treated or dried to minimize shrinkage and warping over the building's life. They are, in effect, your quality control gatekeeper on the job site every single day.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Risk. Every major construction project feels like a tightrope walk over this chasm of unknowns, right? How does an owner's rep, your dedicated guide, not just react when dangers appear, but proactively anticipate and manage the myriad of risks that could potentially derail your entire investment?
You're right. Risk is inherent in construction, and managing it effectively is a core value the owner's rep brings. Risk management isn't a one-time task. It's a relentless, continuous process that actually begins the moment you even conceive of the project. Your rep spearheads a structured risk management methodology.
Structured how?
It typically involves distinct phases. First, risk identification, where they systematically brainstorm and meticulously scan for every conceivable threat. What could possibly go wrong? Then, risk analysis, where they assess the likelihood and potential impact of each identified risk. How bad could it be and how likely is it to happen? And finally, risk management, where they devise concrete strategies to mitigate, transfer, avoid, or accept each risk based on its profile.
And this starts really early.
Oh yeah, risk management and planning begins in the early phases of project development. Long before ground is broken, they're reviewing everything from the nuances of your design concepts, are there untested technologies, complex geometries, to potential external challenges. What about shifting material costs, labor shortages, supply chain disruptions, to securing adequate funding and anticipating potential community impact that could trigger protests, lawsuits, or regulatory hurdles down the road? It's about looking around corners.
So they're not just thinking about generic construction risks, but specific vulnerabilities tailored exactly to your project.
Exactly. And they don't just identify these risks, they work to build in robust protections against them. Take, for instance, a really important contractual provision they might recommend, the contingent assignment of subcontracts.
Okay, what does that do?
Imagine this scenario. You're deep into construction, millions invested, and your main general contractor, for unforeseen reasons, financial trouble, maybe defaults on the contract or even goes bankrupt. Without this provision, your project could grind to a screeching halt. You'd be left scrambling to find new subcontractors, renegotiate everything, facing massive delays and huge legal battles. It's a nightmare scenario for an owner.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
But your owner's rep, anticipating this kind of worst-case scenario during contract negotiation, puts in place agreements that allow you, the owner, to automatically step into the general contractor's shoes and take over those active subcontract agreements directly. This offers a vital degree of protection, ensuring your project can continue moving forward with the existing subcontractors with minimal disruption. It saves you immense time, money, and unbelievable emotional distress. It's like having an emergency parachute already packed and strapped on before you even take off on the project journey.
That's huge. Okay, so they anticipate risks. But when problems do inevitably arise during construction conflicts, changes, disputes, which they always seem to do, how do they help resolve those without derailing the project or letting costs balloon?
They are absolutely central to problem solving and conflict resolution. A major area, as we touched on, is managing change orders. These are formal amendments to the construction contract, often initiated because of unforeseen site conditions, owner-requested changes, or design modifications. Your representative takes the lead in administering those specific, documented procedures for initiating and approving contractor change orders.
This sounds like a real battleground for costs.
It often is. This is a key area of negotiation and potential cost overrun that they expertly control. They scrutinize the need for the change, the proposed cost, the potential schedule impact, ensuring changes are legitimate, priced fairly according to the contract, and approved only when truly necessary and justified. They act as your filter and negotiator.
What about just getting questions answered quickly? Delays happen when contractors are waiting for information, right?
Absolutely. That's why they establish formal RFI processes. RFI stands for Request for Information. This is a formal way for a contractor to ask the designer or owner for clarification on drawings, specifications, or site conditions. A good owner's rep ensures there's an efficient, often electronic RFI process to facilitate open communication and speed to resolution. Getting these questions answered quickly prevents delays where workers are standing around waiting for direction.
Are there other formal processes like RFIs?
Yes. Depending on the project's complexity, they might manage other formal communication tools, like requests for change, RFCs, which might be contractor-initiated proposals for modifications, or requests for explanation, RFEs, which could be issues raised by the owner or the project manager needing formal clarification or resolution. The key is ensuring everything is documented, tracked, and resolved transparently. And when larger claims emerge, formal disputes over significant cost increases or schedule delays, they establish methods and procedures to minimize the impact of claims through prompt and equitable resolution, monitoring the process closely to protect the owner's interests and minimize the overall negative impact on the program. They act as your shield and your negotiator in these contractual skirmishes.
Wow, this sounds like an enormous amount of information to track and coordinate across all these areas: budget, schedule, quality, risk changes. Are there specific technologies they leverage to make all this more efficient and, maybe more importantly, help prevent problems before they even start?
Absolutely. And this is where modern technology becomes a true game changer in construction management, and the owner's rep is often key to leveraging it. Increasingly, your representative might act as a BIM integrator.
Okay, remind us again, BIM is more than just a 3D picture.
Much more. BIM, Building Information Modeling, isn't just a 3D drawing. It's an intelligent, data-rich digital model of your entire building. It contains comprehensive information about every single component, its geometry, its material properties, its manufacturer's installation requirements, even its performance data. Think of it as a living, breathing, collaborative database for your entire project, accessible to the whole team.
A single source of truth.
Ideally, yes. As a BIM integrator, your rep ensures proactive participation of stakeholders. They work to get everyone, architects, engineers, key contractors, contributing to and using this single shared model. This ensures that the responsibility for updating each model is clearly defined, meaning everyone is working from the same, most current intelligent set of plans rather than outdated drawings.
That alone sounds like a huge advantage, preventing issues caused by working off the wrong information, which must save immense amounts of time and money.
It really does. And a prime example of BIM's preventative power is clash detection. Using the sophisticated BIM model, they can perform automated clash detection routines. The software literally searches the model for interferences by searching for intersecting volumes, identifying problems long before they could ever escalate in the physical world.
Like what kind of problems?
For instance, imagine a large HVAC duct is modeled to run directly through the same space where a main structural beam is planned, or where a large plumbing pipe conflicts with a major electrical conduit run. Without BIM, these kinds of clashes are often discovered during construction when the installers show up and realize things don't fit. That leads to finger-pointing, costly demolition, on-the-fly redesign, new material orders, and significant delays. Total nightmare. But with BIM clash detection, your rep identifies these conflicts virtually, right there in the digital model. They can be resolved collaboratively on a computer screen in potentially minutes or hours, saving weeks of on-site rework and potentially hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars on a large project. It's proactive problem prevention.
And BIM can do more than just find clashes.
Oh yes, it extends into 4D and 5D capabilities. A 4D BIM schedule application dynamically links the project's schedule activities directly to the 3D model objects. This allows you to create graphically rich and animated representations of the planned construction sequence.
So you can actually watch the building get built virtually.
Exactly, step by step, phase by phase, before construction even begins. It's an incredibly powerful tool for phasing, coordinating, and communicating planned work, clearly to all stakeholders, the owner, the contractors, everyone. It also supports simulated what-if scenarios. Want to see the visual impact on the sequence if you accelerate a certain phase or if a delivery is delayed? The 4D model can show you instantly.
Wow. And 5D, is that cost?
Yes, 5D integrates cost. 5D cost management capabilities allow you to attribute every element in the BIM model, every wall, pipe, light fixture, to specific resources and costs. This provides parametric and dynamic quantity takeoff for bills of materials directly from the model. It leads to much more accurate cost estimates, generated much faster, meaning less time spent by the estimators. This tight integration of the 3D model, the 4D schedule, and 5D cost data provides an unprecedented level of control, foresight, and transparency for you, the owner, managed by your rep.
Okay, technology is huge. And finally, thinking about the actual physical work on the ground. Safety is obviously paramount on any construction site. How does an owner's rep oversee safety without directly managing the contractor's workforce, which is the contractor's responsibility?
That's a key distinction. They provide crucial safety oversight as an advocate for the owner's interest in a safe project, but they don't take over the contractor's legal responsibility. While the contractor is ultimately responsible for implementing and enforcing job site safety, your representative actively monitors the contractor's daily construction activities, keeping an eye out for potential hazards or non-compliance with safety regulations or the project's safety plan.
So they're an extra set of expert eyes for safety.
Exactly. They proactively notify the contractor and document it of any deficiencies or imminent hazards they observe. They often participate in job site safety committees alongside the contractor and workers. They understand that continuous improvement in safety often requires pushing beyond standard practices, recognizing that breakthrough that transcends best practice is needed, and that boundaries where hazards may be released are not absolute. They advocate for a strong safety culture on the site, which ultimately protects not only the workers but also your investment by preventing costly accidents and delays.
So we've journeyed from the initial vision through all the planning stages and deep into the nitty-gritty of construction, execution, and monitoring. What happens when the project is nearing completion, or even after the keys are handed over? Does the owner's rep still have a role to play then?
Yes, absolutely. Their involvement extends right through closeout and beyond, ensuring not just completion but long-term value for the owner. In the post-construction phase, the owner's representative assists in the crucial review and implementation of operations and maintenance manuals, essentially, making sure you get the right instruction book for your complex new building and that your facilities team understands it.
Handover support.
Yes. They also often assist in pre-warranty expiration date checkouts. Before the warranties on major systems like the roof or HVAC expire, they'll help coordinate inspections to identify any issues that need to be addressed under warranty, ensuring you get the full value from those guarantees. After completion, they might conduct a formal QM assessment with owner, a quality management review to discuss the overall quality management of the project, capture lessons learned, and build upon the experiences encountered for future projects.
Continuous improvement.
Exactly. And finally, they typically prepare a final report summarizing the project, its successes, its challenges, and providing recommendations to the owner regarding activities during the course of work which may require reevaluation for future work. This captures valuable knowledge for your organization if you plan to build again.
That focus on future work sounds really forward-thinking, and I imagine this also ties into the growing importance of sustainability and thinking about the overall life of the building, not just the construction phase.
Absolutely. A good owner's rep champions sustainable construction and life cycle costing. They promote design choices and material selections with a keen eye, not just on the initial constructability and initial capital costs, but also on the long-term life cycle costing, including operation and maintenance. How much will it cost to run this building over 30, 50 years?
The total cost of ownership.
Precisely. This is crucial for sustainable construction, where factors like durability, low maintenance, and adaptability can significantly reduce the EC footprint of buildings, the overall ecological and environmental impact. For example, one source notes that simply doubling a building's functional lifetime from, say, 50 to 100 years effectively cuts the EC footprint in half because you're amortizing that initial environmental cost of materials and construction over a much longer period. This forward-thinking approach ensures you're not just building for today, but creating a valuable, resilient, efficient, and environmentally responsible asset for decades to come.
Okay, we've meticulously charted the extensive duties of an owner's representative, really understanding what they do from that first idea all the way through closeout. But now, let's shift our focus entirely back to you, the owner listening to this. Let's answer the most critical question. What is the tangible, real-world impact of having this expert guide by your side? Where does their presence truly manifest as a shield for your investment and a catalyst for achieving your vision? This isn't just about tasks checked off a list. It's about problems averted, millions potentially saved, and frankly, peace of mind secured, right?
That's absolutely the crux of it, the value proposition. And one of their most significant contributions, as you hinted, is identifying problems long before they escalate into costly crises. An experienced owner's rep develops an almost uncanny ability for proactive conflict avoidance. They can spot subtle discrepancies in drawings, potential coordination issues between trades, or ambiguities in the specifications long before they cause issues on site.
Using tools like BIM helps there.
Hugely. As we discussed, using tools like clash detection in BIM allows them to catch physical conflicts virtually. They understand deeply that reducing coordination errors between systems during construction directly improves communication across the team, which in turn decreases construction cost and time, thus reducing risk. This foresight is invaluable. It's the fundamental difference between solving a problem collaboratively on a computer screen over a few hours, maybe fueled by coffee, versus discovering it in the field weeks or months later, requiring expensive demolition, ordering new materials, and facing significant unrecoverable delays. It's about preventing that disastrous ripple effect of problems.
So they're not just reacting to problems when they flare up, they're actively preventing them from even starting. Can you give us maybe a more illustrative example of this proactive prevention in action?
Certainly. Beyond just clash detection, think about how they use tools like those 4D schedules we mentioned to support simulated what-if scenarios. This allows the entire team to visualize the planned construction sequence and identify potential logistical bottlenecks or resource conflicts before they actually happen on site. They also often apply discipline techniques like root cause analysis when variances do occur to determine the basic underlying reason that causes a variance or a defect or a risk, making sure they're addressing the core issue, not just the symptom, preventing recurrence.
So digging deeper than just fix it.
Exactly. Imagine a situation where, say, a critical material delivery is unexpectedly delayed by the supplier. Your rep, using these tools and methodologies, doesn't just wait. They model various options. Can we effectively resequence other tasks to work around this without impacting the critical path? Can we quickly source an equivalent material from an alternative supplier? And what's the cost-quality implication? What's the actual impact on the overall schedule and budget for each potential solution? This structured, proactive, data-driven approach saves countless hours of reactive scrambling, potentially millions in delay-related costs, and a tremendous amount of stress and uncertainty for you, the owner.
And speaking of saving money, we touched on change orders earlier. They're often seen as this notorious black hole for budgets and construction projects. How do owners' representatives really stand guard there, protecting the owner's wallet?
This is a critical area where their expertise and advocacy truly shine. Negotiating change orders and protecting your financial interests. The owner's representative actively manages and negotiates these change orders, which, as you said, are often areas where project costs can spiral completely out of control if they're not rigorously managed.
How do they control them?
Their deep contractual knowledge and technical expertise allow them to navigate the often complex contractual language surrounding changes. They meticulously scrutinize. The reason for the proposed change, is it truly outside the original scope or due to an error? They analyze the proposed costs. Are they fair, justified, and in line with contract rates? They assess the claimed schedule impact. They essentially act as your expert filter and negotiator, ensuring you avoid paying for things you shouldn't be paying for or paying inflated prices. They make sure any changes are legitimate, fairly priced, fully documented, and formally approved only when necessary.
And those land waivers you mentioned earlier are part of this financial protection too.
Absolutely. That requirement for land waivers from subcontractors with each payment is a crucial financial safeguard they enforce. As we noted, it protects you, the owner, from the devastating risk of future claims or having to double pay if funds don't flow correctly down the chain. They also ensure the project's accounting procedures are crystal clear regarding exactly what constitutes reimbursable items versus fixed-price components, removing ambiguity and preventing disputes over what constitutes a legitimate project expense you need to cover.
But they're not just negotiating the specific change order, they're scrutinizing the entire financial machinery around payments and costs. And I suppose their strategic advice extends even earlier, maybe helping owners avoid bad deals before contracts are even signed.
Precisely. They can offer invaluable strategic advice during the bidding and contract negotiation phase, potentially preventing you from accepting unfavorable terms or partnering with a contractor who isn't the right fit, even if they have the lowest price initially. Our sources offered that historical parallel with Brunel, who famously advised the directors that Russell's offer should not be accepted for building the Great Eastern because he suspected Russell had submitted an unrealistically low bid based on inflated estimates of steel quantities, setting the stage for future conflict.
So an expert eye for value and potential trouble.
Exactly. Your owner's rep understands that while a straightforward low bid selection process aims for that simple apples versus apples competition on price, true long-term project value often lies in more robust contract development, ensuring transparency, fair risk allocation, and selecting a team that is genuinely capable, collaborative, and fully aligned with your project's ultimate success, not just the entity that submitted the lowest number on bid day.
Okay, makes sense. Ultimately, though, beyond the process, beyond the budget and schedule, an owner's representative is fundamentally there to ensure the final building, the physical thing, is exactly what the client wanted, right? To deliver on that initial vision without compromises on quality.
That's the ultimate goal, yes. Ensuring quality and realizing your vision. The owner's representative relentlessly monitors construction progress to ensure the final product meets the client's quality expectations.
Mm.
And again, this means verifying everything against the contract documents, from the concrete achieving its specified crushing strength in tests to the proper installation of critical components like cavity insulations without vapor retarders, ensuring the correct drying and treatment of wood to minimize shrinkage and future problems, verifying the effective functioning of complex building systems like ventilation, and even confirming compliance with life safety codes like egress requirements for high-rise buildings. They are on-site, making sure it's built not just quickly, but built right to spec, to code, and to your exacting standards.
And beyond just meeting the immediate specs on day one, they're looking at the long game too, ensuring not just initial quality, but real, lasting value over the building's life.
Exactly. Beyond that immediate day one quality, they help ensure decisions made throughout design and construction align with those life cycle cost considerations we talked about. They advocate for choices that lead to buildings that are durable, low maintenance, efficient to operate, and adaptable to future needs, buildings that are not, as one source decried, bad architecture, shoddy, ephemeral, crass, but rather possess the enduring qualities admired in architecture that stands the test of time. Ultimately, they are the crucial bridge across that gap between your abstract desire for, say, a machine for living in, and the concrete, structurally sound, code-compliant, functional, and aesthetically pleasing realization of that dream. They translate your vision into tangible reality, ensuring the building will serve its intended purpose effectively and efficiently for decades to come.
Listening to all this, the role sounds almost like a kind of power broker for the owner, not just managing the technical stuff, but skillfully navigating all the intertwined interests, the various stakeholders, maybe even the political landscapes that often surround big projects.
It absolutely can be, especially on large, complex, or publicly significant projects. There's a fascinating, if sometimes controversial, analogy in the story of Robert Moses, the master builder of mid-20th century New York. His story, as detailed in sources like Robert Caro's The Power Broker, highlights how a determined individual acting in a powerful representative capacity, though self-appointed in many ways, can navigate incredibly complex political landscapes and overcome fiercely conflicting interests to shape entire city infrastructures.
How did he do that?
Well, Moses possessed, as Caro puts it, a genius for seeing potentialities for power where no one else saw them. He understood the leverage points, the funding streams, the bureaucratic machinery. He masterfully navigated the existential pleasures and, more often, the brutal struggles of the political process inherent in these massive public works endeavors. While his methods are debated, his effectiveness in getting things built demonstrates the power of having a single-minded, strategically astute representative pushing an agenda. This is a key part of project delivery that goes beyond just technical management.
That's a really strong example of advocacy, isn't it? Pushing for the owner's agenda, in his case, the public authority's agenda, even against immense opposition.
He certainly did. There's a famous anecdote involving Mrs. Sulzberger of the New York Times, who vehemently opposed one of Moses's plans for Central Park. She believed, as Caro recounts, that the values of engineers were not compatible with the values for which parks were created. She even called engineers straight-line crazy.
Strong words.
Very. Her opposition represented a clash of values recreation versus engineering efficiency. Moses' ability to ultimately overcome such powerful opposition and push his agenda forward, like transforming a plan for numerous playgrounds into the single great lawn we see today, illustrates the need for a strong advocate who can balance, or sometimes overcome, competing perspectives and strategically maneuver to achieve the owner's preferred outcome. This isn't about ignoring valid concerns from stakeholders, but about having a dedicated voice and a sharp strategic mind, relentlessly pushing your agenda forward in a complex, multi-stakeholder environment where many competing values are constantly at play. An effective owner's rep provides that unwavering strategic advocacy.
So it really underscores the importance of having that representative possess not just technical skill, but real authority and influence to see the project through, even against short-term resistance or shifting political tides outside the project itself.
Yes, absolutely. Look at Moses' strategy for securing power. He established public authorities with board members appointed for long terms, 6 years, 3 times as long as the governor's term, and statutory protection from removal by elected officials. This structure gave him incredible autonomy and insulation from short-term political pressures. While perhaps extreme, it demonstrates the fundamental importance of securing a representative who possesses or is granted the necessary authority and influence to see the project through successfully, beyond the election cycles or internal corporate politics. It reflects the need for an owner's representative to have significant agency and ideally a long-term mandate, ensuring continuity of focus and unwavering dedication to the project's success for the owner, regardless of who else comes and goes on the project team or in the surrounding political or corporate environment. It's about protecting your long-term investment and vision from potentially disruptive transient pressures.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap this all up. What have we really unpacked today in this deep dive? It feels like we've seen that in this incredibly complex, often very costly, and frankly, sometimes daunting world of construction, the owner's representative truly stands out as your essential guide and your unwavering advocate. From meticulously helping define that initial vision and strategically selecting the absolute best teams for the job, to rigorously managing those critical budgets and schedules day in and day out, proactively identifying and mitigating risks using advanced tools like BIM, and expertly negotiating on your behalf through every single twist and turn of the project. They really are the trusted expert who ensures your project goals and, just as importantly, your ultimate peace of mind are protected. From that first concept all the way to completion and beyond. They're clearly not just another expense line item, are they?
No, absolutely not. They should be viewed as an invaluable investment in the project's success. And I think it boils down to recognizing that in a world of ever-increasing complexity and specialization, where every field seems to have its own impenetrable labyrinth of jargon and processes, the most valuable commodity is often not just access to more information, but rather the wisdom, the experience, and the dedicated advocate needed to navigate it all effectively.
Yeah.
The landscape of construction is constantly shifting, new technologies emerging, regulations changing, global supply chains becoming more volatile. As one of our sources aptly warned, organizations that don't adapt can disappear faster than the time it takes to realize that organizational change is not happening. Choosing to engage an owner's representative is, in many ways, a powerful act of adaptation for an owner. It's a commitment to mastering that inherent complexity rather than being overwhelmed by it.
That's a great way to put it. Adaptation. So for anyone listening who might be contemplating their next ambitious undertaking, whether it's building a new cutting-edge facility for their business, undertaking a complex renovation of a beloved historic landmark, or launching a major infrastructure project that could impact communities for generations, the critical question you need to ask yourself isn't just what you're building,
Right.
but maybe more importantly, who are you going to empower to stand beside you to ensure that what you build truly builds your future, achieves your vision on your terms? Someone who ensures you end up not just with a structure, but with a lasting legacy. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would happen if every owner on every significant project truly understood and utilized this powerful lever of project success?
Yeah.
How might that fundamentally reshape the quality, the efficiency, and the ultimate value of the built environment all around us?
That's a powerful thought to end on. It could lead to projects that aren't just on time and on budget more often, but perhaps are truly exceptional in how well they meet their intended purpose.
Something for all of us to think about.